morning. Welcome to Cues with Dogs. Super excited. Today I get to talk about one of my subjects. I could go on and on about this, so I'm going to try and make it as short as possible. We are talking about the amygdalas, and I pluralize that because there are two. Even though we have a tendency to just focus on one, the one that we're focusing on is the one that is most important to us because it keeps us safe. But there are two. There is one that lets us know we're safe, and there's another one that lets us know when we're not. And what that produces are two different types of behavior. It is relaxing and comfortable, or we are being defensive and trying to create some distance from whatever it is that we perceive as harmful. Where are the amygdalas located at? If you take and make a direct line from your eyeballs to your ear, that intersection in the middle is about where they're located at. So it's deep in the brain. And it is probably one of the most important parts of the brain in regards to emotions. So your right amygdala. Okay, so I'm going to talk about them, and I want you to understand that they do have separate memory areas where they gather information from, depending on what we feel. So the right amygdala is your fight, flight, freeze, faint, and fawn. What I have noticed in dogs, which I think is important to kind of look at, is when dogs communicate with other dogs, provided there is not a lot of human interference, they will naturally go from the lowest defense mechanism up to the highest, depending on where the behavior stops. Because what they're asking for is distance because they don't feel comfortable. So they start it in kind of a step, and that's the variance level thing. Just something to keep in mind when we're talking about them. Fight, obviously, we've all seen it. Somebody's seen it and experienced it. We express something and somebody turns around and says, "You're wrong." That makes us want to fight and prove our point. It does not make us relax and want to understand or be curious about somebody else's point of view. Flight. You're wrong. All right, fine. I'm not going to listen to you. I'm going to leave. I got to go to the bathroom. I got to go do something. But I'm probably never going to talk to you again. Flight. Yeah. Dogs, you'll see them turn their head away. You'll see them walk away. Yeah, very interesting. Freeze. Oh, yeah, I've done this. So for me, freeze is I am no longer responding to you at all. Not going there, not looking at you, not acknowledging you. I don't want to think about it. I don't even want to be on your radar. And you'll notice this with rabbits or squirrels, like when you're walking by with your dog, you'll notice they stop. That's what they're doing. They're trying to create a lower profile so they're not noticed because they're afraid that the dog is dangerous. And guess what? In that situation, yeah, potentially the dog can be. That's their natural instincts working with another animal's natural instincts. Faint. Amazingly, I do this. I think this is what I do. I was diagnosed with epilepsy when I was a kid. But I have come to notice it reemerged. I outgrew it, I think, and then it's reemerged older as I've gotten older. But I've noticed that every time I have a fainting episode, it is directly related to how much stress I am under in regards to narcissistic abuse and the triggers that revolve around it. So yeah, I just get stressed out and pass out. It's a great way to handle it because, can't do anything with that. Fawn. Fawn is kind of a people-pleasing attitude towards things. I'm going to present myself in the least threatening way. Everything you do is wonderful, and I will do anything for you. That is Not a healthy way to be, because you really truly lose touch with yourself. Dogs do it. You'll notice when a dog will introduce themselves to another dog, if for some reason one dog feels threatened, maybe the other dog will roll over and show its belly. Showing its belly is a form of trust. So that's a wonderful way for them to share information with the dog that they're meeting, that they are not a threat and that there is no reason for harm. Left amygdala. Left amygdala is all about rest and relaxation. It's about healing, and it's about pulling experiences into you. This is the part of our brain that makes us want to be social and want to be close to people, because our associations or memories in our head have all been pretty much good associations, and there's a lot of comfort that can be had as the result of having relationships. But it's not just relationships with people, it is also relationships with your own emotions, and I'll go into that. This will sound funny, but I've come to realize, like when I found out about the amygdalas, that the amygdalas are really kind of like what we hate and what we love. And I started really thinking about that. And when you think about what you hate, you don't want anything to do with it. You really are trying to create distance. When you think about the things that you love, you're really trying to decrease distance. Both of those two things are incredibly powerful. But I believe that you can actually use both sides of your brain as cues to rotate with each other. Meaning, I've experienced a tremendous amount of triggers. And one of the things that I've noticed is I can't just make a decision and go from one behavior to the other without having something in the middle, which I'm going to call perception integration in the middle, that allows me to figure out my path. So what does that mean? It means that I genuinely am trying to learn how to love the things that I hate. I am genuinely trying to utilize all of my defense mechanisms in a way that they cue me to get to my rest and relaxation side. I'm not dismissing them. I'm literally using them as a cue to regulate myself. So when I tell people that I'm not a dog trainer, this is the aspect that I'm talking about. Behavior helps me to identify willingness, rest and relaxation and all of those things. And it also helps me to determine what the dog wants based on the subtle areas of creating distance, to get away from something, or maybe freezing. Like I ask the dog to sit. I ask my dog to sit, and she doesn't sit. And I ask her again with a little bit more clear communication, so that in case it's a communication thing, I've given her that, and she still doesn't want to. Well, guess what? She has some kind of bone disease in her back leg, and sometimes she doesn't want to sit. So when I think about that, I have to be okay with her not sitting. I can't have it my own way, because I could potentially be doing harm. So what that's doing is saying, I don't have to get what I want in order to be happy. I can allow things to be what they are and still be happy, knowing that I'm doing my best. That is very much an internal process that is internally processing your emotions, so that you do less harm outside. And I believe that it is actually the integration cueing your defense mechanisms into a rest and relaxation mode. Another example of this is if I'm in conversation with somebody that doesn't want to listen to me, I will stop talking. If I'm in conversation, and I don't stop talking as a consequence, I stop talking because I'm aware of the fact that that person has a need to talk, and they're probably not really good at listening. And well, that's none of my business. That's their life. That's their associations. That's what they know. So it's none of my business to interact with that. But what I can do for myself is I can use that opportunity to listen more. And in that way, the person gets what they need. I can increase my own personal strengths. And maybe it's a weakness that needs to be worked on. And maybe that's the reason why I get so frustrated with it. I don't really, but whatever. Yeah, so anyways, that's working it internally. Working it externally is somebody interrupts you and you turn around and you say to them, what is wrong with you? Why can't you listen? Well, when you say something like that, what you do is you increase the right amygdala to get defensive. They're not going to learn anything from you saying something like that. That is a personal offense until you can get smart enough to understand what you can do, what behavior you can do in order to be helpful. You're not going to make that curiosity and compassion connection that you need in order to have a good relationship. And this is where I see that we really do a disservice to our dogs when we're primarily focusing on behavioral outcomes. I use both. This will sound a little odd. I'll show you how I do it. When my dog barks, I'm okay with it. I acknowledge it. I create a little excitement when she barks, and she'll bark a little bit more, and that allows her to get that energy out of her. It allows her to be heard. It lets her know that I'm curious and that I have compassion about her needs. And then once she's relaxed a little bit, then I'm going to ask her, can you let it go? Because being highly aroused and then letting it go are the opposites. And I'm always constantly going to be looking for opportunities to do that, because what I'm doing is recreating over and over again self-regulation, so that when she's excited, she can have the ability to become calm. Anyway, so yeah, not a dog trainer. I work with my dog to help myself in the stuff that I need to handle. If you don't know anything about narcissistic abuse, you will find out soon enough as to why all of this stuff just fills me up with joy, learning it and understanding it. So yeah, we have a hate bubble and a love bubble, and the thing that connects the two is curiosity and compassion. So when I'm working with a dog, the most important thing that I'm looking for is empathetic behavior, but curiosity more than anything, because if it is in that spot, that is the area that I have the ability to influence. If it has already gone to the right amygdala, I have to meet that dog where they're at so that they know that that's an okay area of their brain. They don't have to be afraid of being afraid. Yeah, that sounds crazy. That I can meet them where they're at, and that I can slowly bring them back into calmness. And I can create a behavior that allows her to know that she has a choice, instead of her just continuously accessing something that makes her feel like she doesn't have a choice. So yeah, I think it's important when somebody feels defensive with you, you should be asking yourself, what can I do to decrease that defensiveness? If I feel defensive, that is my cue to look at my own behavior and say, what can I do to lessen that defense behavior? What do I need to know, curiosity-wise, in order to get to that space? Okay, so now I want to talk about involuntary empathy. That's what dogs are. And the reason they are that is because I mentioned to you about the reticular activating system, that it does all the other senses, but that the one sense that doesn't go through there and goes directly to the amygdala, which the amygdala sends messages to multiple other areas in the brain to figure out what our behavioral response is going to be. Smell. And that's the most important sense in a dog. That's how they gather information. So that's why they're involuntarily empathetic, because the chemicals that I mentioned that are created in the reticular activating system and in your gut are the chemicals that they are smelling. The predominant way that we create memories is through association, that Pavlovian theory, stimulus paired with another stimulus creates an association if they're close enough together. And I think it's like a 2-second rule or whatnot. But those associations can happen even further apart. And that's just based on the person. I know that I can make associations at very large levels of distance in between. So, yeah, super important. And so I explained the internal and external processing to you. I explained where it was at. I explained the function of creating distance and decreasing distance. Those are all important things to know. And there's a great comfort knowing that your brain is automatically doing that for you, that you are automatically taking care of yourself without you actually having to think about anything. But in another way, sometimes when you're in the right amygdala far too often, it can create a lot of toxicity in your body that will emanate in physical ways. That might be excessive anxiety, excessive depression. Excessive depression is actually, I believe, coming from the left amygdala. I could be wrong. So yeah, double check me always. I'm a dum-dum. I'm just, like I said, I just think for myself, this stuff has been so important for me to know and understand. All I want from it is to just kind of give you a guideline of maybe researching all of this stuff in regards to how you choose to work with dogs. It's all spaghetti on the wall. Use it or don't use it. If it feels good to you, use it. If it makes sense to you, use it. If it doesn't, if I do something that bugs you and it just comes off your radar, totally cool with that. Absolutely. Just be your authentic self, touch into your own experiences, and definitely, do what you need to do. It's all good. Anyways, that's it for today. That's the amygdala. Lots of information to learn on it. Explore, be curious, find out. That's what it's all about. Anyways, thank you and have a great day.